we have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Over to me and goes, "Hey, what's up, Dustin?" I go, "Hey, what's up, man?" David walks over and goes, "What the f*** did he call you?" I go, "What?" He goes, "What did he call you?" I said, "Dustin." He goes, "Well, why did he call you that?" I go, "That's my name." He goes, "Oh, is that right?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. I played 1,600 games with you. They've actually said it 5,000 times. Now batting, number 15, Dustin Pedroia." And he goes, "I thought it was Pee-wee." So now the umpire, this is dead serious. So now the umpire comes back and I go, I'm standing there. I've got a hit in a week. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, "You thought my parents would name me Pee-wee?"
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Boston Red Sox second baseman Dustin Pedroia, who hasn't played since 2019 because of a knee injury, announced his retirement on Monday. Quote, "Could have ended better and I finished my career the right way? Yeah, of course. But there was a reason I was the first one dressed at 5:30 for a 7 o'clock game. I always tell my teammates that you never know if the game is going to start early. My biggest thing in my mind is that this could be my last game and you don't know. That's the best way I approached it from Little League on. I had the best time playing baseball," unquote. Dustin Pedroia finished with a 303 average, 1,036 hits, a 371 OBP, 112 stolen bases, 560 runs, and 436 RBI. He ranked in the top 5 in all of those categories from 2008 to 2013. Hall of Fame third baseman Chipper Jones is returning to the Atlanta Braves in a part-time capacity as a hitting consultant. Jones, 48 years old, played his full 19 years with the Braves, elected to the Hall of Fame in 2018. The new role announced on Monday by the Braves gives Jones his best opportunity for an on-field role at a part-time capacity since his retirement following the 2012 season. He previously worked with the Braves as a special assistant to baseball operations. He also has worked as a broadcaster for ESPN. Jones hit 303 in his career and led the league with a 363 mark in 2008. Eight-time All-Star, 1999 NL MVP with 468 home runs and 1,623 RBIs. Among switch hitters, only Eddie Murray has more runs batted in. Jones is the only switch hitter to hit at least 300 for his career with 400 or more home runs. The Los Angeles Angels acquire right-handed starting pitcher Alex Cobb from the Baltimore Orioles for an infield prospect on Monday. Orioles are expected to pay more than half of his $15 million salary owed to Cobb for the final season of his 4-year, $57 million contract. Cobb, 33 years old, is a veteran of 9 seasons, has an ERA of 3.88, and a 55-57 record over 156 starts since debuting with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2011. Alex Cobb would be the second starter acquired by the Angels by first-year GM Perry Manassian, who signed veteran Jose Quintana to a one-year deal just about a week ago. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central to 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We are 5 days away from the Super Bowl, although it's going to be a little weird. I cannot wait. Gronk and Brady back in the Super Bowl again. What a great, great Tampa Bay Bowl this ought to be.
Someone was actually able to deceive me once. Do tell, Rose. St. Olaf's most famous OBMAG.
What's that?
Obstetrician magician. The amazing Shapiro. He delivered Bridget. But it was so confusing. It's a girl. Now it's a dove. Now it's a glass of milk. I don't know how he got her in that deck of cards. But there she was right after the King of Hearts. Is this your baby?
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee sitting alongside Stephen Troche. Stephen, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. It is great to be back, and we got Super Bowl week coming up. I am just I can't even put into words how excited I am for the Super Bowl.
Is Ray Finkel finally going to get a Super Bowl ring?
Never.
We got a lot going on here. A little time to get. First of all, did you happen to see this weird report from the ex-Mets coach Mickey Callaway? 5 women accused him. 2 of them were Cleveland reporters. Accused him of sending pics to them. I guess he was trying to hit on them online, and he sent pics to himself, pics of himself to them. And I don't know why it's finally coming out now, but maybe it's got something to do with the whole debacle that happened with the New York Mets earlier. But man, that is going to be a firestorm in New York City. Have you seen the pic that the Athletic used, that they said that they were, according to sources, this is the pic that was used? Have you seen this pic?
I haven't seen any of the details, but
okay. So first of all, it's not a selfie. Someone had to have taken this picture, because he's like outside. He's in like blue jeans. He's in like, he took his shirt off. It's really weird. He's got a hard hat on. He looks like something from the freaking Village People. And he sent that to reporters. And what gets me is that after you've sent it to a couple of people and no one says Pete, why do you keep sending it to other people? Do you think they're going to be into it? I mean, he's got a lot to answer. And yes, by the way, Mickey Callaway is married, y'all. So you know that's fun times in the Callaway household right now, trying to walk around those landmines. But wanted to throw that out there before we get into so this week, I guess you could do DFS, but it's kind of suicide, because you go DFS, there's not a whole lot to pick from. So you're going to have to, like, to be able to win tournaments, Steven, aren't you going to have to essentially like find some kind of diamond in the rough that normally doesn't perform and go in on a couple of those guys and hope that they break the bank for everybody?
So, I mean, if you're playing DFS this weekend, just the biggest thing to look out for is the contest selection. So, I mean, it's Super Bowl. You know, DraftKings, FanDuel, they're going to pump up the contests. They're going to be massive, massive payouts. But with that comes 500,000 people in a contest. You're not going to – there's – on one game, especially like a showdown and this magnitude, you're not going to be able to get a unique lineup in a contest that big.
Do you play any contests for the Super Bowl weekend? Because I do not.
My rule with anything on Super Bowl weekend, so like outside of just betting, like, you know, like the against the spread and the over under, is just play everything super light. So I mean, like we'll talk about it like in a few minutes, but all the props, all DFS, anything like that, I'm playing it super light. So I like it. I still have the experience of having fun and doing the gambling, but I'm not worried about losing, you know, billions like what is it, Milton Capital.
Well, so I might do like a draft, like a snake draft. I don't know how it will differ from others. The ones that they've had all year, you go in a room with 3 people, you end up with, I guess they would have to do super flex, right? But how your draft position pick, of how it falls, you're kind of at the mercy of wherever your pick ends up being.
If you're doing those kinds of contests, yes. But if you're doing just a normal showdown slate, you still have that captain spot. There are options to make your lineup a little bit different. So
I would be more inclined to do the snake draft just because I know that whoever I pick, the other guy doesn't have, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to be in one that's very big because of the simple fact that, man, your pickings are going to be slim. You get like a 6-man rotation, you get the 6th pick. So the top guy gets Mahomes and you get stuck with Gronk. I mean, that's going to suck. Yeah. So and then once again, whoever gets Gronk in like a 6-man deal, when he gets back to his pick, there's not going to be anything left. You're going to be like throwing darts at the board and hope a Scotty Miller or a McCall Hardman goes off. So I was just curious if you even played that, because I don't. I've looked at them year after year. I look at them and I'm like, this just doesn't interest me. But I will throw a few bucks probably in on the snake bet, just to give us some kind of interest. I'm more into the prop bets, so let's go ahead and dive into those because there are a lot of prop bets.
Yes.
First quarter of the Armchair Quarterbacks, and here we go, diving into the prop bets. So the site that I always use, they've got a lot of prop bets up right now. They don't have everything. What I ended up running into, I didn't get as many player prop bets. I got the weird prop bets that popped up on mine today. I think they wait closer to the weekend to find out, where everyone's going to be at as far as health wise. The only kind of prop bets they have for the players that on the one that I pulled up is goofy stuff like player to be shown first during the national anthem, Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes, right? So it's goofy stuff like that. Now what we have right now is we have the Bucks plus 3.5 and the over under is now to 56.5, which is what I was hoping. I was hoping that over under would keep going up because I'm going to bang the under this week. I think the under has a very good chance of hitting. I think you're going to talk about 2 teams who have 2 weeks to prepare for themselves. They're going to play it. I think it'll be kind of a low scoring first half. And though the fireworks might come in the second half, 56.5 is going to be very difficult to get to because these defenses are not exactly chop liver. Right. And I do think you're going to see whoever wins this game, like a 28-24 type of game, as opposed to like a 41-38. In our mind, we get romantically like drawn into, man, what if Brady and Mahomes have this great shootout? Wouldn't it be great? But that's what we thought when the Patriots played the Rams a couple of years ago. We were thinking we might see highlights galore, and it ends up being a 13-3 dud. Now, I don't think we're going to get that, but I also don't think we're going to get some. I can't think of a lot of Super Bowls that have been played where 2 teams both score a lot of points. usually if there's a lot of points scored, it's by one team because they're just blowing the doors off the other one. So, where are you leaning? The over or the under, and Tampa Bay plus 3.5? Which way are you leaning right now?
I'm definitely leaning Chiefs minus 3.5. Like it doesn't. I know I kept saying, Tom Brady keeps getting lucky and he keeps finding ways to win, but
Not luck. Yeah, it's not luck.
Even at home, it's still going to be real tough to be able to outgun Mahomes.
Can't do something 10 years. I mean, 10 times they call it luck. I mean, come on, once maybe, but even still, I'll tell you what, I would not bet against Tom Brady. I just wouldn't do it.
I don't feel comfortable about it. If you're looking at this matchup on paper, it should be Chiefs 9 out of 10 times.
It should, but the problem is that
Tom Brady,
they're playing this on a Super Bowl, right?
That somehow Mahomes is going to throw like 19 for 37, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Like it's just somehow something like that's going to happen. Where it's not anything that happens on Tom Brady plays. It's just stuff around him that makes it easier. I don't know how to. It's some weird Tom Brady phenomena.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see that I talked about this earlier, but I think that the Bucks are going to be able to get some big time pressure on Mahomes, and you always hear this really lazy and breakdown that people say, well, Tom Brady, his biggest kryptonite is he can't play against a good front four. Well, that's every damn quarterback that's ever played in the history of the National Football League. No quarterback has ever raised their passer rating while laying flat on their back, right? Not having Eric Fisher, not having their starting left tackle, the best offensive lineman that the Chiefs have, that's a huge deal. And this is a Tampa Bay front four that I think has already shown in the playoffs that they can get after it, right? They're going to have more difficulty getting after Mahomes because of his ability to scramble. But even if you get him throwing off his back foot, Mahomes will make mistakes, and I think that's going to be the difference there in the game. I am still going with the Bucks. I picked them to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season. I can't back off it now. And I believe in Brady at home. I just think it's like, if there's ever a situation where it's like, God, this is like Hollywood Cinderella type of story. This is it. Tom Brady coming to Tampa, become the first quarterback or first team ever to even be the host team. And now they got a chance to win it. So right now, unless something major happens, we haven't even talked about this at all, but what if a COVID takes out one of the major players? Right? What if Brady gets COVID? What if Mahomes gets COVID? They better have them sleeping in like in like a tomb until Sunday to not be able to get the virus from anybody.
So there's been no major news yet, but they came. I think I saw last night. It was Daniel Kilgore and DeMarcus Robinson have hit the COVID list. Their barber got COVID. So they're considered.
So they're okay. So they're in the protocol where they have to. Was it 5 days that you have to?
I think they're missing the game.
Wow.
I'm not confirming this, saying it's truth, but I did see
Marcus Robinson, and who was the other?
Daniel Kilgore. He's an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Usually 5 days, you'd be able to clear the protocol by Sunday, but if it's something more serious than that, then who knows? Wow.
I mean, neither of them tested positive. They both just got haircuts from the same guy, and the barber tested positive.
Gotcha. So they would go into the protocol. So that
I think there's still going to be a chance with the consecutive negative tests, but as of right now, I think it's safe to assume that they're going to be out.
Well, we'll look into that. What do you like in your player props so far?
Actually, you kind of took away the thunder for one of them. With the whole, like you said, with the Chiefs missing missing a chunk of their offensive line, and the fact that Tampa defensive line can get pressure. I got one of the ones I found last night, Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett. Each of them to get a sack. It's a plus 120. So like over half a sack is plus 120 for each of them. I thought that's a pretty good thing to take advantage of. I think people were doing that last week with Bakhtiari out, and that was an easy cash for them. Also, see the player pops. The numbers are just really rough this week. So like Kelsey and Hill, they have their yards and catches like. I think both of the yards are like 94, 95 and a half, and the catches are 7.5 and 8.5, I think.
Wow, that's gone up because of the beginning.
Yeah.
In the 80s. The AFC Championship game, Hills was only 79.5.
Oh, I know.
I knocked that one out of the damn park. I couldn't believe that it was that low.
So
I still think I'd probably go with Hill getting the over.
So
what do you have, like 170 yards in the first quarter last time he faced the Bucks?
Yeah. So no, I mean I definitely feel better about Hill's overs this week than Kelsey's. So I mean his catches at 7.5. I think that's a much more reasonable number, especially if you're considering Chiefs and Tampa. Like I was saying before, Tampa gets a lot of pressure on the Chiefs. Chiefs have to resort to the short passing game. They have shown plenty of times that they're more than willing to just dump it off to Tyreek and let him do some work in space.
So Mahomes, okay, how about this? I found one page that's actually got a lot of the player props. So I'm just going to go through them and you just tell me your best guess. What about Patrick Mahomes, 326.5 yards? Would you take the over or under?
I'm going to go with the under on that.
Brady, 301.5.
Under.
Mahomes, passing touchdowns, 2.5, over, under.
Over.
Yeah, I think it not only pays off a minus 150, but I think I have to go because they're not a team that runs the ball. So if they're gonna get touchdowns, which you expect them to get 3 to 4, I would think 3 of them would be him. Brady 2.5, over under. His under's minus 170. His over would be a plus 130.
Oh, then I'll go the over there. 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think I would. If I didn't go the over, then I wouldn't take the under because it's not good enough payoff. Both quarterbacks combined 4.5 touchdowns.
I think that'll be over. So, I mean, like you would just need Mahomes to go off.
Let me see if we can get past the quarterback. There's a lot of goofy ones.
Well, okay, I can already say from looking yesterday, one of the ones I'm on big time is Clyde Edwards-Helaire under 30.5 yards. That's a minus 115, especially with all the rumors of Darrell Williams coming out and being the lead back. For some reason, the sports books are treating Edwards-Helaire as the lead back.
Now, is that 30.5 yards total yards, or is that just
rushing yards?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go with that because the Bucks don't give up a lot of yards on the ground. It's like you said, like I've got more faith in Williams at this point.
They don't give up a lot of yards on the ground, but they have also been they've allowed the most targets and catches to the running back position. So yeah, I'm definitely under on the rushing yards prop there, but I mean they're allowing 30, 40 more targets than any other team to running backs. Edwards-Helaire and Williams are both at 2.5 over on their catches prop. I don't know which one to choose, but I think one of them is going over for sure.
What about a plus 130 for Mahomes to throw an interception or a minus 170 that he doesn't?
I've played the Mahomes to throw an interception the past like 2 or 3 games. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I'm definitely, it's the Super Bowl. I think there's a lot worse bets you could do than betting the yes there.
If Antonio Brown plays, he has a 37.5 yards over under. Even Steven on his receiving yards. I find that interesting.
I mean, I didn't have his yards, but I definitely I had him over 3.5 catches at -112.
If he plays, I think I have to go with that. 37.5 yards is nothing. And
3.5 catches.
Yeah, I would think he'll have 5, right? I don't think he's gonna redefine the position come Sunday night, but I think he'll be heavily involved, especially because they've had some issues with Chris Godwin's with the drop season and whatnot, and for whatever reason, Brady loves Antonio Brown, so I think he'll lean on him.
And so with that, in turn, the player most directly affected by Antonio Brown and going to lose his targets and snaps is Chris Godwin. He has the highest total on the Bucks. The only thing I have down is the catches. So it's I have him at under 5.5 catches, but that's a +103.
So if Darrell Williams is the lead guy, his over/under receiving yards is only 14.5 yards. I think I would have to bang the over on that one.
Yeah, but
that's just him getting loose on 2 catches, right?
He doesn't get much work in the passing game though, and that's the thing I'm worried about. They use Williams as the inline back, and then they bring in Edwards-Helaire as the pass catching back. That's the one thing I'm worried about.
What about Gronk 29.5 yards receiving? You know Brady's going to want to throw to Gronk in the Super Bowl.
I'd be more comfortable throwing on a Gronk anytime touchdown than trying to choose like a receiving or yardage prop for him. Because I mean, like the last 2 games, they've really used him more as a blocker and not had him out running a lot more routes. I mean, that's part of the reason you saw Cameron Brate catching so many passes.
If you end up with Demarcus Robinson staying on the COVID list, now right now what I just read a second ago was that they both have a chance to play, but they're being put into that protocol. If he doesn't play, can I talk you into Sammy Watkins 35.5 yards?
You don't have to talk me into it. I was talking to my friend Ryan last night, and I was trying to talk him into it.
I mean, he becomes number one with the bullet. He becomes the bet factor because they're going to put so much attention on trying to slow down Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. That's nothing if he can get going.
Oh, and just a note, anybody playing DFS, Sammy Watkins is if there's no Demarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins is your lottery ticket.
Leonard Fournette 50.5 yards rushing.
I'm gonna go under. I don't want to mess with that running back situation.
Here's one of your favorite ones: Patrick Mahomes 19.5 yards rushing. I think I go under. I don't think he's going to do that to the Bucks. I think they're going to keep him contained. He might throw for 400, but I don't see him scooting around all over the field. Right? I mean,
yeah,
it's a low number for a guy who can scramble. So he gets loose on one, you're going to be throwing your beer up against the wall because you're like, it's over.
Where
first quarter he takes off on a 22-yard run, you're going to be pissed.
Well, here, I found a
Tom Brady rushing yards. How about this? Can I talk you to this one? 0.5. 0.5. All he has to do is get a yard, and it's a +150.
Oh, let me find some of these bets I saw last night.
We know that he loves the quarterback sneak. If they give him credit for a yard on a quarterback sneak, that's all he needs. I think I like that one. What I'm not positive of, what if he gets sacked? That doesn't take away from his rushing yards, right? Isn't that a separate?
It does.
It does now?
Yep. I don't know about Vegas, but I know in any other fantasy gambling world, they just go off the total rushing yards at the end of the game, and sacks and kneel downs take that.
They go back and forth on that rule so many times. Years ago, it used to go off you used to take away from your passing yards. It was such and they've gone back and forth on that rule. It's been so screwy. Now, if that's the case, but if that's the case also, if they're going to take away that for the rushing yards, I'm going to have to look that up. But if they're going to take that away, then I really like Mahomes not getting 19.5 yards because I think he'll get sacked a couple of times. If you get a couple of sacks, let's just say they're a small sack, a 5-yard variety. That means he's going to get 30 yards rushing from the line of scrimmage. If that's the case, I'm going to have to look that up because I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, all right. Like, here's a few other fringe bets like I was looking at last night. I think it have some value. So you got Darrell Williams, leading rusher at plus 420. Chiefs to score every quarter, plus 125. Kansas City under 1.5 field goals, minus 110. They go for a lot of 2-point conversions and fourth downs. I think that could be an easy one. This is right at the alley of the armchair quarterbacks. Fat man touchdown, plus 800.
I think that'll definitely happen.
There was one I didn't write down the odds.
So does that mean any lineman catch a
offensive or defensive?
Right, any of them score a touchdown.
Yes, if you limit it to just offensive linemen, I think it's plus 2,500. But one of my favorites. So we got coaches challenge successful at plus 115. Does anybody attempt a 2-point conversion? And then does anybody convert a 2-point conversion? That's a plus 180.
I think I like the fat man one because I think I would like to have defensive or offensive because you never know who they might put in the game. And what if there's something goofy and there's a pick six by an edge rushing defensive lineman? I don't know how they'll split those hairs, right? Like, what if a linebacker is actually playing as a down lineman on the play and he gets a goofy interception or a fumble recovery? Does that count? Or do you get screwed because, well, technically he's not a defensive lineman?
All right, here's some fun bets. Like these are on my bookie. You could do these. So they have these cross sports bets. So on Sunday, will Rudy Gobert have more points and rebounds than Tyreek Hill's longest catch?
I'm not going to watch Rudy Gobert on Super Bowl Sunday, so I probably won't get involved in that one. I don't know, man.
I mean, like there's a bunch of ones. Like there's a college basketball, Colorado State versus Wyoming. The spread is plus 17.5 points over Travis Kelce's receiving yards.
How many times will the Patriots be said? The over-under is 2.
3. That's an over.
Yeah, I think so too. Which is funny because the odds are better. It's a minus 130 on the under. It's even Steven on the over. So I find that interesting. What else you got?
So I got a bunch of anytime touchdowns. So for the Buccaneers, I got Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Gronk. But actually, like listening to you talk about it before, I don't have the odds, but Gronk for anytime touchdown. Like you said, Brady should be looking for Gronk in the end zone. He's gonna want to throw it to him.
He's gonna draw something up for him, right? It's gonna be something. It might be Antonio Brown throwing one to him. It'll be something. Yeah. First Anheuser-Busch brand commercial to run. Will it be Bud Light, Mick Ultra, Bud Light Seltzer, or Mick Ultra Organic Seltzer?
Bud Light.
I think I would go with the seltzer. Just because,
yeah, actually,
not that. What's interesting? It says Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade. Does it have to be lemonade? Like what if another Bud Light Seltzer comes on? Do I get screwed out of that deal?
That's a good point.
Which bag will be seen first during the Frito-Lay commercials? Lay's, Tostitos, Doritos, or Cheetos?
Doritos.
I would think it would be Doritos too. Now that one lady who's just recently started doing Lay's commercials, I wonder if they might run her first. So I almost want to bet on her because they made such a big deal about her. Like, I must have saw that commercial 10 times the last football weekend where she's singing and dancing, and don't know what the hell that has to do with Lay's potato chips, but she's singing and dancing. It's the same girl that used to be on one of the phone commercials.
Okay.
So I'm kind of leaning with Lays. These
Here,
are
total players to attempt a pass, 2.5 over under.
Oh, I go over. Somebody's gonna have at least an alligator pass in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have something. No way you don't see like some kind of version of the Philly special.
Plus 165
is plus 165 is the over?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm thinking there.
nothing.
Not to mention, what if one of these guys gets banged up? What if the game turns into a blowout and they say, screw it, go in because
that's some work.
I would definitely take the over on that because all you need it's just a pass attempt, right? It's not a completion.
So they have 3 ones. They have total players to attempt a pass, total players to complete a pass, and to throw a touchdown.
Oh, I would just want the one, but the one that just for the attempt, that's 165.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm all over that one. I think that might be my favorite one. These are weird ones. Will the weekend mention Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Why the
I
hell
saw that one.
Why the hell are they going to talk? And if you hit yes, if both of them are, it's the same odds. Is a plus 850. Damn, I'd almost be willing to throw some money and go. I don't think Trump would get. I don't think they would mention Trump because he's not the president anymore. But I could see them mention, unless we find out some intel and find out that Trump is going to be at the Super Bowl, then you have to take the over, right? But I don't think. I think they may as much shades getting thrown on Biden right now. They probably will just steer clear of it and not even mention it altogether. And I've never known Tony Romo or Jim Nantz to get into that world, so they're not just going to bring it up. Like I think there would have to be something go down for his his name to get pumped into it. The over under on the halftime songs 8.
Oh,
I think take the under.
Yeah,
unless they're going to do like some mashup and then you get screwed on one song.
Yeah.
They do a 9-song mashup at the end. You're like, son of a. You got any others before you got to run?
Here we go. This one's interesting. Okay, no, never mind. Like that's just 1 quarter. Never mind then. Oh no, I think. Let me just double check my list.
I'd like to see if there's a prop, whether or not they mentioned Andy Reid eating a cheeseburger. Because remember when he mentioned that last year, they couldn't shut up about it. And
I think Bet Online would have the best odds for those types of bets.
I'd like to look into that one.
Okay, like my one nugget today would be: don't stick to one book when trying to do these prop bets. Shop around different sports books, see what the odds are, see what each book is offering, and go from there. Like, don't feel obligated to just put all your money in one place. Shop the odds, find your best bets, best values, and go from there.
Forget or omit the word in the national anthem. The reason why I wouldn't go with that it would happen is because in today's day of everything virtually done, they're probably going to record the damn thing 20,000 times until it's perfect. And so what are the chances that they're going to leave a word out? If they're going to go out there and actually sing live on stage for the national anthem, then I would take a chance at that, because there's going to be 25,000 fans allowed in the stadium for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When was the last time any of these singers have been in front of a live audience?
No, I know.
There could be some jitters and you omit or screw up one word. Hell, that could be a meme by kickoff, right? People just say, son of a. All right, brother, what's your walk-off? Go
Chiefs. Do not let Tom Brady win another Super Bowl.
Go Brady, baby. Go Brady. I'm Team Brady. Y'all are going to be out of town for the Super Bowl, right?
Essentially, yes. We'll be at a wedding.
Are you going to be able to actually see the damn Super Bowl, or are you okay?
Yes, bride and groom realized the mistake they did when they...
Are they getting married on the actual Sunday, or is it just the weekend of?
4:00 on Sunday.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard.
She's gonna have 7 TVs, so it ain't gonna be that bad.
But still, what are you doing to people? That's terrible. All right, well, we'll see you when we come back from break. We'll be back March 1st, and we'll be ready to dive into fantasy baseball. Then for sure. February 1st kind of kicks off fantasy baseball because usually a lot of these the Yahoos and ESPN start opening up the leagues, but we don't even know if pitchers and catchers are actually going to report on the 14th. So hopefully all that'll get straightened out by the time we come back on the 1st. Great job, and have fun at your wedding. The Super Bowl.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
All right. We're going to be back in a flash on the Armchair Quarterbacks when we come back. The top quarterbacks under the age of 25, they put out a ranking. I've got a problem with it. And wide receivers who are going to be available this offseason. There are a ton of wide receivers that are going to be available, free agents this offseason. We'll get into that next here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to CBS Sports Radio.
This is the part in the Lifetime movie version where I get up to pee.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores. Make contact.
The Armchair Quarterbacks Wake-Up Show, the rock and roll of sports talk radio. So turn that auto-tune and mumble crap off from the other guys.
This time I'm gonna kick that football clear to the moon.
Amazon Prime members now get free grocery delivery with a minimum order. You'll get your groceries with 2-hour delivery. So in that time, you can finally figure out where the biblioteca is, learn how to play the acoustic guitar, and I guess get a puka shell necklace. Do a makeup tutorial, but realize halfway contouring is hard, and you're beautiful just as you are. Whatever it is you're doing with your time, your shopper will be carefully picking out your favorite organic meats, produce, dairy, and snacks while providing contactless delivery to your door. Free 2-hour grocery delivery, now with Prime.
6 rounds. TJ Hoshimazode. Yes, lock it up.
Who? What?
TJ, how's the vanilla? All right. TJ, who's your mama?
You mean TJ Hushmanzada from the Bengals?
Put him on the board. Hoshimazole. Got it. Championship.
Make sure to join the Armchair Quarterbacks right here. We'll answer all your questions, pickups, trades, you name it. You want to win your league? Then listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. And don't be scared to tap that app. Find the Armchair Quarterbacks app today.
Fantasy football time. It's fantasy football time.
I should have gone to law school or high school.
We live in a world now that welcomes and nurtures the screwball in all of us. Hey, it's a new decade, people. Time to get a little nutty. Treat yourself to Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, a smooth flavor that combines 2 of America's favorites, peanut butter and American whiskey. So no more social awkwardness. Time to embrace who you truly are. Get out there and make friends. And be sure it starts with Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It's available nearly everywhere. Learn more at screwballwhiskey.com. Infinium Spirits. Please enjoy responsibly.
They're bringing me back. Yeah, I'm the Wiz again.
I'm the Wiz. I'm the Wiz.
What about your fact-checking job?
Oh, here's the fact. I'm the Wiz.
I'm the Wiz and nobody beats me.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Tuesday morning. Hell, we're just less than a week away from the last football game for several months. It's the worst and the best time of the year. I always get excited for the Super Bowl, but man, the realization starts kicking in that, oh my God, we're going to have to go months without it. There is no perfect way to do it. I just wish you didn't have to have such a long time in between football seasons, but you can't expect these guys to play 7-8 months out of the year like they do like in the NBA or something, because their bodies would be beat all to hell. I guess the fun part of it, if you're strictly just a football fan, is that you've got the XFL is going to crank back up this year. You know, The Rock bought them, and I guess we'll start getting details of when that'll all be taking place. And then also remember the smaller schools that elected not to play football this year, this past fall. A lot of the smaller conferences are going to be playing this coming February to April-ish is when they've got earmarked for them. So I would imagine games and matchups we never would have seen before will be splattered all over the ESPNs and whatnot of the world. And I'll be interested to see that if they get decent enough ratings, if they end up talking the powers that be into possibly going into the following season and say, hey, look, no one watches your goofy conference when it's in the fall and it's going up against the SEC, ACC, Big Ten, etc. But would you possibly be willing to play every year in the spring? I guess we call that the spring. Sorry, I had to preset something there, but you know, it's a fair question because we get for instance, like the Ivy League, nobody watches the Ivy League. Nobody watches the Ivy League, right? But who the hell watches the Ivy League? Hell, I don't even know if it's even on TV, to be perfectly honest with you. From my understanding, it's not even on TV most games. I think every once in a while you'll see like the Harvard game pop up. You'll see, you know, a game here and there down the stretch. The Harvard Yale game is what I'm talking about. But leagues like that, why not play in the early winter, pre-spring? Why not kick it to February? No one's watching your crap anyways during the regular season. You're not going to be involved in the national championship race. Why the hell not? We'll get into that. Is that nears? But man, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing some college football in the spring. The leagues that just don't have much of a chance of going up against. You probably want to be done before the combine. So that might be the issue. But what if you started up in we'll say December, rolls it in all the way through you start getting your rivalry games going after the national title game, right? Hell, this past weekend would be a perfect example. There was nothing to watch. Nothing. Unless you're just going to force yourself to watch January regular season NBA, there was nothing to watch. And so it was kind of nice. I kind of clocked out of sports for the weekend. I did watch college basketball on Saturday, but Sunday there wasn't a damn thing on. But let's get into the top quarterbacks under the age of 25. This is my list because the lists that I've seen come out, I think they're terribly off. Terribly off. I think Mahomes, it's got to be number one. Now, some of these guys are going to turn 26 by kickoff of next year, but currently they're 25 years old or under. And I've got to put Mahomes number one. And I was on the fence with this one, but I think just from a leadership standpoint and not rocking the boat standpoint, I'm going to put Josh Allen above Deshaun Watson, but it's close. It's really close. They both bring certain things to the table that the other doesn't. So it's really close. My number 4, and I can't believe that he's not up and higher. And some people had him ranked 7th, 8th. Is Kyler Murray. Give me Kyler Murray as the best, as the number 4 best young quarterback. After that, right now, I'm going to side with Lamar Jackson. Look, he's an NFL MVP. He's got a lot of things that when he comes onto the field, other guys can't do. But up on his heels, nipping at his heels, is Justin Herbert for me. Justin Herbert played phenomenally. And so I've got Herbert as my number 6, and my number 7 guy, assuming that he comes back from his injury with nothing, assuming he's 90% of what we saw this past year, I've got to put Joe Burrow as my guy right after Herbert. So right now in the top 7, I got Mahomes, then Allen, then Watson, then Murray, then Jackson, then Herbert, and then Burrow. My number 8 guy is then I'll put Baker Mayfield in. I like what he did this year, but from a standpoint of who has the best chance to be elite down the road, I like Burrow just a little bit better than Mayfield. And this is where it gets entering after this. The last 3 guys I put on the list, 2 are currently in the league. One of them is about to come in. And it's Sam Darnold, Tua Tagovailoa, and Trevor Lawrence. And I went back and forth on this several times. And finally, I landed on this. Give me Trevor Lawrence right after Baker Mayfield. Then I'm putting Sam Darnold, and then Tua is going to round out. What did I end up with? Was that 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11. So Tua is just outside my top 10. I'm still going to say he's got a chance to get back in. But right now, I don't see how you put Darnold below Tua. I think Darnold is just as good as Tua. Tua's just got a much better team around him. And because we've been told that Trevor Lawrence is the second coming, we gotta have him on the list. And I believe Urban Meyer will find a way to coach that kid up. And with all that being said, this time next year, Trevor Lawrence could be in the top 5. But as of right now, just coming into the league, I'm putting him at number 9, Darnold 10, and Tua. So that rounds it up. But let's get into the wide receivers. Are going to be very interesting in this class. Number 1 with the bullet, but he is 28 years old and he has had a knee injury, is Allen Robinson. So some of these names are going to be names that aren't going to shock you, but this is a huge list. Kenny Golladay is out there. Will Fuller is going to be a free agent. See, I did not. Now, the thing is, he can be protected by the Texans with the franchise tag. But one of the projections for Golladay is him going from Detroit to the Ravens. Now, I think Detroit's got to try to sign the guy. But if they decided to do a full rebuild, then maybe they let him go and save the money. Allen Robinson is expected to re-sign with Chicago, but you never know. Once these things get out there, you never know. Chris Godwin is going to be a free agent. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be a free agent. Some are projecting him to go to the Dolphins. Corey Davis is going to be a free agent. The projection they have here is him going to the Packers. I don't know where they're getting all this because this is just guessing at this point, right? But it's kind of fun to see, where they see some of these guys going. Nelson Aguilar, I would not back the truck up for him. I think he ends up staying with the Raiders. Same thing with Tim Patrick. I think he'll stay. this is a weird one. Now they're getting into like trading, projecting trades. I'm not going to give any kind of notion of that one. Curtis Samuel. This is an interesting one because they haven't projected to leave Carolina to go to Washington and reunite with his old coach. Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be a free agent. They're projecting him to go to the Titans. AJ Green, does he have anything left in the tank? We'll find out because the projection is 1 year, $4 million to the Chiefs. Can you imagine that? AJ Green gets the fountain of youth and he gets into that Chiefs offense. Look out. Sammy Watkins, he's a free agent. Antonio Brown's obviously a free agent, but I think he stays with Tampa because there's just no way for him to go anywhere else with a better fit than stay there with Tom Brady in Tampa. Larry Fitzgerald, he's a free agent, but I think he'll probably retire. He was a shadow of his former self this year, and I think the handwriting's on the wall. Same thing with Deshaun Jackson. He's probably on his way out. Julian Edelman, he is a free agent. If Julian Edelman is your free agent, there's no way that guy doesn't end up down in Tampa. That is Tom Brady's guy. Now he's 35 years old. He's not going to get a whole lot of money at this stage in his career. But you trying to tell me Tom Brady wouldn't like to have a safety net in a Julian Edelman? They're saying here 1 year, $1.5 million from the Bucks. That could end up being the steal of the free agency because Tom Brady gets him in there and he just becomes their chain mover. I mean, when Edelman is with Brady, he's essentially like a glorified tight end because he just runs the very short routes. He gets open in space and he moves the chains. That's a very interesting one. Alshon Jeffrey, Tyrell Williams, Golden Tate's a free agent. He's 33 years old as well as Des Bryant. I don't know if anyone's going to give Des Bryant a chance again next year. He didn't really like the world on fire. He might end up retiring, but I think he wants to play. Kendrick Bourne, 26 years old. He's a free agent. Keelan Cole. They are expecting him to stay with Jacksonville. We'll see what happens because you just never know when you get in an Urban Meyer into the mix and he wants to bring in his guys, his talent. You just never know what he ends up wanting to do. Brashard Perryman of the Jets. Josh Reynolds, the Los Angeles Rams. He's a free agent. He's only 26 years old. David Moore. He's only 26. I swear, David Moore seems like he ought to be in his early 30s. It feels like he's been around forever. Rashad Higgins of the Browns, he's a free agent. I think he stays in Cleveland. Cordell Patterson, he would be an interesting one because he's a free agent. He's 30, but he can also play in the backfield from time to time. And some of the other ones that are going to be out there, D.D. Westbrook's an interesting name. DeMarcus Robinson, Chris Conley, Zach Pascal, Willie Snead. I could see Willie Snead fighting his way into an offense and being, if nothing else, the one thing that Willie Snead will do is he'll get his nose dirty and block. So I could see him if he doesn't stay in Baltimore, I could see him going to hell to Tennessee. Tennessee would always use a hard-nosed blocking wide receiver. There's a lot of options out there. This free agency is going to be wild because you're going to have so many. I think you're going to have a lot of short deals, and it's going to open up a lot of chances for people to kind of move around a little bit because I think you're going to get smaller deals because of COVID and they didn't have fans in the stands, et cetera, et cetera. So there won't be as many teams willing to do these long-term deals. until we know exactly what's going on with this virus and getting it, beat, so to speak. Because every time you think it's beat, some jack-o'-lantern tells you about, there's a new strain from what was the last one? South Africa. Yeah, it's the flu. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, Major League Baseball, it looks like that they are heading towards the designated hitter as universal. Well, I got some players and some landing spots for a good dozen players out there that are strictly looked upon as a DH. We'll find them a home next here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to YouTube Live and CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash.
Boston Red Sox second baseman Dustin Pedroia, who hasn't played since 2019 because of a knee injury, announced his retirement on Monday. Quote, "Could have ended better and I finished my career the right way? Yeah, of course. But there was a reason I was the first one dressed at 5:30 for a 7 o'clock game. I always tell my teammates that you never know if the game is going to start early. My biggest thing in my mind is that this could be my last game and you don't know. That's the best way I approached it from Little League on. I had the best time playing baseball," unquote. Dustin Pedroia finished with a 303 average, 1,036 hits, a 371 OBP, 112 stolen bases, 560 runs, and 436 RBI. He ranked in the top 5 in all of those categories from 2008 to 2013. Hall of Fame third baseman Chipper Jones is returning to the Atlanta Braves in a part-time capacity as a hitting consultant. Jones, 48 years old, played his full 19 years with the Braves, elected to the Hall of Fame in 2018. The new role announced on Monday by the Braves gives Jones his best opportunity for an on-field role at a part-time capacity since his retirement following the 2012 season. He previously worked with the Braves as a special assistant to baseball operations. He also has worked as a broadcaster for ESPN. Jones hit 303 in his career and led the league with a 363 mark in 2008. Eight-time All-Star, 1999 NL MVP with 468 home runs and 1,623 RBIs. Among switch hitters, only Eddie Murray has more runs batted in. Jones is the only switch hitter to hit at least 300 for his career with 400 or more home runs. The Los Angeles Angels acquire right-handed starting pitcher Alex Cobb from the Baltimore Orioles for an infield prospect on Monday. Orioles are expected to pay more than half of his $15 million salary owed to Cobb for the final season of his 4-year, $57 million contract. Cobb, 33 years old, is a veteran of 9 seasons, has an ERA of 3.88 and a 55-57 record over 156 starts since debuting with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2011. Alex Cobb would be the second starter acquired by the Angels by first-year GM Perry Manassian, who signed veteran Jose Quintana to a 1-year deal just about a week ago. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
If only the world was less like this.
I could use a smoke.
Hey, put that out! And more like this.
I could use a smoke.
You murderer! I might have children one day!
Smoking kills, unless you kill first. If you're around a smoker, you will die. Smokers may look relaxed and like they're having fun. Don't believe it. Vote yes on Proposition 421. Let's outlaw smoking everywhere, even in people's homes, and allow honest citizens to legally kill anyone who smokes. Let's live in a world without smokers. Prohibition works. Let's prove it. Let's move up the food chain. It's time to smoke the smokers. Vote yes on Proposition 421.
We live in a world now that welcomes and nurtures the screwball in all of us. Hey, it's a new decade, people. Time to get a little nutty. Treat yourself to Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, a smooth flavor that combines two of America's favorites, peanut butter and American whiskey. So no more social awkwardness. Time to embrace who you truly are. Get out there and make friends. And be sure it starts with Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It's available nearly everywhere. Learn more at screwballwhiskey.com. Infinium Spirits. Please enjoy responsibly.
You get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. So much, I'm going to have to speed things up. You can get the Farmers Signal app, and that could get you up to 15% off your auto policy. That's just for using the app and driving like the normal speed limit hearing, full stop, making lane change, signaling human being you are. Get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. Start with a quote by calling 1-800-FARMERS.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hell is filled with people like you.
Welcome back into the Armchair Quarterbacks. Tuesday morning, and bad news, folks. Punxsutawney Phil saw a shadow. 6 more weeks of winter. It's Groundhog Day for folks that aren't aware of that, and not that I necessarily believe in it, but people make a big deal about it. How the hell that became a thing, I'll never understand. How a gopher seeing a shadow or not seeing a shadow meant anything to anybody at any time. Who the hell? I mean, what kind of sauce was someone on when they came up with that theory? But anyways, I digress. Let's get back into the world of sports. And I sometimes I just feel like ESPN tries to drum up fake stories to get some kind of relevance of what they're talking about in the morning. You know what they're talking about right now is whether or not the Packers general manager or Packers head coach are all in on Aaron Rodgers going forward. I'll repeat that. There is a debate on ESPN the last 2 mornings on whether or not Aaron Rodgers is their guy going forward. The man who's going to win the National Football League Most Valuable Player Award. They're going to get rid of him. I don't care if he is 37. That makes absolutely no damn sense. Tom Brady's 43. When he was 37 and playing at the height that he was playing, think the Patriots ever thought about getting rid of him? Hell, the Patriots didn't realistically want to get rid of Tom Brady this last offseason. He wanted out. He wanted to be elsewhere because he was tired of being under Bill Belichick's wing, essentially. But there's no way in hell Green Bay, you're going to trade Aaron Rodgers for what? He's 37, brings in a lot of money. So you're going to trade him for a random draft pick, and Jordan Love's going to be your answer going forward? Jordan Love being drafted by Green Bay was the dumbest thing that I have seen in a long time. A team that was that close to getting to the Super Bowl last year, they draft a quarterback, and that just tells you LaFleur is wanting to develop a kid over the next several years. Okay, whatever. But I don't feel like he needed to draft a kid in the first round. They had so many glaring needs that were not addressed on defense. Or hell, go out and get you an electric receiver. So the 2 dumbest things that Green Bay did all season was draft Jordan Love and kick the field goal and down a touchdown in the NFC championship game. Other than that, yeah, I like what happened with Green Bay. They drum up some of the dumbest damn things because it's obvious they have a bunch of chuckleheads that don't know a thing about any sport other than the National Football League. And so they try to drag out NFL content the entire season. We're in the middle of the NBA, the NHL, men's college basketball, baseball's on the way, and they're talking about whether or not the MVP of the league is going to come back. Of course he's going to come back. Stupid. Okay, so Major League Baseball is still in the middle of trying to negotiate with the players union. And the way it stands right now, they turned down the last offer. That offer, which I just do not get why you would turn this down, was 154 games. They were going to start a month late for health and safety protocols. So as opposed to spring training starting on February 27th, they were talking like around April 1st. They were going to get the season rolling by like May 1st. They were going to play 154 of the 162 games they normally play. And oh, by the way, the players were going to get their full salary, 162 game salary. They were going to get to add a designated hitter. They were going to add another round to the playoffs, which is a little bit of money for the players. But what it really does is it ups the ante in free agency, because right now, if we go into a season where you're going to take 3 division winners and 2 wild card winners, it shortens the interest for a lot of players. But if you expand that, we'll say expand it to 7. So 14. So you go from 10 to 14 teams that are going to make the playoffs. That also expands the pool of how many teams think that are contenders. If you go 7 deep in the Major League Baseball playoffs, and I'm looking at teams on a realistic chance of making the playoffs, and we'll just go off of last year's standings. Obviously, Tampa Bay, the Yankees, and Toronto in the East are for sure contenders. Minnesota, Cleveland, and the White Sox are for sure contenders. Oakland, Houston, those are gimmies. All those teams made the playoffs last year, and I assume that they would all be in the race this year. Then you add the Angels in. So that's 9 already that have for sure, when you start the season, they feel like they have a real chance of making the playoffs. I think Seattle and Texas would say, okay, Texas is probably more of a rebuilding mode, but Seattle's got a decent chance. So that gives me 10. And Kansas City, Detroit, Texas, Baltimore, and Boston, those are probably the 5 teams that are like, we'll see what happens. We'll talk to you at the deadline. But right now, we're going to kind of hold back. But that gives you 10 real potential teams in the playoffs. So you go to the National League, Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, the Dodgers, and San Diego all made the playoffs last year. And they would all probably tell you that they feel like they're contenders this year. So that's 8 teams. You add all the teams in the NL East, because if Atlanta and Miami got in, Atlanta's definitely has a chance this year. I would say Miami's got an outside chance. And Philly, New York, Washington, they've all made moves to make their team better. So that's already 13 teams in the National League. You have the NL Central. I'm not going to put Pittsburgh in there. They would have to do a lot of things to make me believe. But I would take a stab that Arizona and maybe even San Francisco have a chance to make it in this scenario. They're at least in the conversation. So that gives you 11, 12, 13 teams in the National League that if you go to 7-team playoffs, I'd say 12 to 13 teams would realistically feel like they could make the damn playoffs. Colorado and Pittsburgh being the two teams I'd say they've punted. Colorado just traded Arenado. When you're trading guys like that, you're not competing for this year. And Pittsburgh's in a full rebuild as they try to get back to where they were just a handful of years ago. But other than that, everyone else in the National League you could make the argument that they are a playoff contender. So that gives you 13 teams in the National League. And what did we say? 11 in the American League. So that's 25 or 24 of the 30 teams. It means only 36 teams don't feel like that they're in it. So that means it opens up the free agency market big time. Puts more money in your pocket. There's more interest. There's more people bidding on you. And you would add the designated hitter. That gives 15 new jobs that weren't there. Because the National League team is no longer just putting a guy on their bench like a Matt Adams to come off the bench and pinch hit. They're now going after an everyday batter that's going to affect their lineup. So here are the names that are out there, and I got some landing spots for them. If we get DH, this is where I see these guys going. We scroll down to the National League again, so I put the player with the name. I'm going to say, for argument's sake, if they get the DH, Atlanta goes all back in with Ozuna. They liked him. They enjoyed having him. Give me Ozuna to Atlanta. I think there's a couple other places he could go, but for argument's sake, so we don't drag this out into the night, we'll just put him in Atlanta. That means the next big thumper would be Nelson Cruz. And I think the Dodgers would go out there and grab him. Now, I could very well see that being flip-flopped because the Braves like the short deals on the big name players. And I think Nelson Cruz to Atlanta would make a lot of sense, but we'll just put it put it at this point. I'd say the next big name would be Edwin Encarnacion. And someone in the National League East is going to try to go after him. He's a right-handed power hitter. I'll put him in Philly. Philly seems to want to spend a lot of money. Let's put him in Philly. Sin-Soo Choo would be the next big name out there. And the Mets have already got a DH sewn up pretty much. If it goes to DH, the Mets actually get favored for that because you get Dominic Smith and the Polar Bear both sharing at bats at first base. That would pretty much put Dominic Smith as the DH. So Sin-Soo Choo, he seems like a logical fit to me to go to the Cubs. You know, they lost a couple of guys this offseason. He's a guy that gets on base, a little bit of pop, but he definitely stirs the pot up and keeps the offense rolling. So I think Choo would be a very good fit with the Cubs. Yeah, Ryan Braun. I don't think Milwaukee has any interest in bringing him back. But where could Ryan Braun follow in the footsteps of and come in and play pretty well? I could see Ryan Braun ending up in I almost want to put him in Washington, but I think they would probably put Zimmerman at DH and then put some of their young kids in place. So we'll take Washington and New York out of the mix with this, and we'll put Ryan Braun in Cincinnati. He would come in pretty cheap. I think he could thump in that lineup. It would be a good fit. Yoenis Cespedes. He seems like to me would be a perfect fit for San Diego. The Mitch Moreland, I think Mitch Moreland would be a guy that would be signed by someone who's not necessarily expecting to compete, but wouldn't mind having some thump in their lineup. Put him out in San Francisco. Brad Miller, who can play multiple positions, I like him for Milwaukee. Matt Kemp is another interesting one. A little up there in years, still has a little bit left in the tank. That could be a good landing spot in St. Louis. Jay Bruce, I think Jay Bruce would probably sign a cheap deal and end up somewhere. We'll put Jay Bruce in Colorado. Same thing with Todd Frazier. He would sign a really cheap deal and end up somewhere trying to extend his career, but essentially, for all intents and purposes, he is done. But I could see Todd Frazier going somewhere like a Pittsburgh. And then CJ Crone, his swing, what he brings to the table, I think he would be a perfect fit to go to Arizona. And there you have that. These are guys that right now are looking for jobs, and if the MLBPA would accept the offer that Major League Baseball sent to them just a few days ago, we would get the ball rolling on free agency. But there's a lot of unknowns, and that's why you're not getting it. You're not getting it because of that very reason. I don't know what Major League Baseball players are thinking when they turn down a deal like that. I just feel like the deal that they have in place there is advantageous for both sides. It's a little give and a little take. And just because you agree to something for this particular season does not mean that when the collective bargaining agreement comes up in 2022 or for 2022, you're automatically going to punt and cave into all these agreements next year. It's a totally different agreement. It makes no sense. I do not get why the Major League Baseball Players Association continues to be so asinine. And Tony Clark, to me, is just a jerk. He's just the lowlife of a human being. He was a player that was never as good as he thought he was, and he's trying to make his name in the Players Association. And the fans are having to suffer. And that's the truth of it. I was going to end the show with some interesting Super Bowl records and heroes that you won't expect to see talked about. And there were some interesting ones. Timmy Smith with his 204 yards rushing. That's one of the most obscure ones because Timmy Smith did nothing in his career, and he has the Super Bowl record for the most yards rushing. That came in the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. And he just went absolutely bananas. Remember, Ricky Sanders went off that day too. Doug Williams. Most receptions in the Super Bowl, excuse me. This surprised the hell out of me. And it happened pretty recently. But I just didn't remember. And plus, when you start asking who has the most receptions in a game in the Super Bowl, you start thinking of wide receivers, and you're like, man, is it this guy? Is it that guy? It's James White. James White, of all people. He had 14 receptions. And this was in the comeback against the Atlanta Falcons. That one surprised me. Doug Williams, 228 yards and 4 touchdowns in one quarter. I don't think that'll ever be broken. That was an absolute perfect storm. For people too young to remember that game, Denver was a heavy favorite. They were up 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then the wheels fell the hell off. Doug Williams threw for 4 touchdowns that quarter. Many of them were bombs. Timmy Smith went the hell off in that Super Bowl. It was probably the most shocking Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life because no one realistically gave the Redskins a chance to beat this great young phenom John Elway and the Denver Broncos. And that added to the misery of the Denver Broncos for years after that. Because then the next time they play in the Super Bowl, they get blown out by Joe Montana. That game was an embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment. And it took almost a decade for John Elway to get back into the game and finally get his win. That was Super Bowl 22 that I'm referring to, Washington versus Denver. And trying to pull up some of the plays, but the second quarter is where it went bananas. The first play of the second quarter, receiver Ricky Sanders got behind Matt Haynes, an 80-yard touchdown. So, okay, it's 10-7. All right, we'll see what happens. What's going on here? Then Gary Clark makes the diving touchdown catch. Washington gets the 14-10 lead. Gary Clark actually has a tie here to Jacksonville. He played for the Jacksonville Bulls before he went up to Washington. Remember when he went to Washington and whenever they scored a touchdown, the receivers would get in the end zone and then they celebrated together and they called it the Washington Fun Bunch. Here's a name from the past. Williams threw an 8-yard touchdown pass to Clint Didier that quarter. That was back when tight ends were not known as receivers, but Clint Didier was a pretty darn good receiver. He was 9 of 11 for 228 yards and 4 touchdowns. In that same quarter, Timmy Smith ran 5 times, just 5 rushes for 122 yards and a touchdown. Sanders caught 5 passes and 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not only did they have 35 points scored, they gained 356 total yards. But here's the Super Bowl record that threw me off of all of them. So you start going to special teams and goofy things like fumbles recovered. Okay. And I kept going through. And then we get to special teams and most kickoff returns for a touchdown. No one's ever done more than 1 in a game. Fulton Walker, by the way, was the first one to ever do it. Super Bowl 17. I remember like it was yesterday. It's a huge deal. We thought that meant we were going to win the Super Bowl. We didn't. And Stanford Jennings did it a few Super Bowls later, and they lost too. Andre Coleman returned a kickoff for a Super Bowl. They lost that game too. So you started to think, man, if you have a kickoff return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl, you're never going to win one. Tim Dwight. Ron Dixon. And then finally, so all of these are losing Super Bowl. Devin Hester, Jacoby Jones. But Percy Harvin, Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard was the first. And who's the other guy? Jermaine Lewis. Typically, if you get a kickoff return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl, you lose the damn game. It makes no sense. So you'd think that would be an incredible advantage. Just isn't. Here's the one that shocked me. And I guess because I thought that I guess I always remembered Desmond Howard's kickoff return for a touchdown as a punt return. So I was like, I wonder who's got the most punt returns for a touchdown in a game. You know who's got the most punt return touchdowns in a game in a Super Bowl? This one shocked me. Nobody. There has never been a punt return for a touchdown in any of the 54 Super Bowls we have watched. Not a damn soul. That does not make any sense to me with the Devin Hesters that have been in the Super Bowl, the Deion Sanders. There's been a lot of great return men in Super Bowl history. Not one, Desmond Howard, not one single one punt return. That was the most shocking thing to me. There's never been a punt return for the Super Bowl. A punt return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I don't know if we'll get one this year. I don't really think of either one. If I was going to put money on, I'd say maybe Kansas City does it. Maybe McCall Hardman. Maybe put McCall Hardman back there and he gets loose. But now I just want to see one. This is crazy. We've never had a punt return for this in the Super Bowl. The longest one ever was Jordan Norwood of Denver versus Carolina in Super Bowl 50, I think is what Super Bowl that was. John Taylor's another one. He has the higher career punt return average. He didn't get in the end zone. It's unbelievable. All right, it's time to turn back time. Tomorrow we'll have Sean O'Toole with us. I think Justin might be with us. I'll have to check on that. He was traveling today and getting set up in his he had to go down and work down in Savannah, and so that caused some problems for the show today. But we hope to have. I know he'll be back later in the week, but we hope to have him back tomorrow. I'll have to get with him off air on that. It's time to turn back time as we walk off another show here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. On this date in 1959, Vince Lombardi signs a 5-year contract to coach the Green Bay Packers. Of course, Vince Lombardi would go on to be, before Bill Belichick, Vince Lombardi was known as the greatest coach of all time. And he wore that moniker his entire career. Well, I think it has to be, at this point, you've got to put Bill Belichick there. But there was a time where it started with Lombardi, and then you would argue Shula and some of the other guys. But now it's Belichick. It's flat out Belichick. All right, birthdays. Wow. It's hard to believe this one. Both of these men are 53 years old today. So I figured we'd celebrate it, both of them. First, Mr. Sean Elliott, NBA champion in 1999 with the San Antonio Spurs. He played for the Spurs from 89 to 2001, only a one-season tilt with the Pistons where he was not with the Spurs. Remember, they got him and then they traded him back. The NBA champion in 1999, two-time NBA All-Star, all-rookie team, and the John Wooden Award winner. Remember, played on the Arizona Wildcats. Played under Lute Olson, so happy birthday to him. And happy birthday to Scott Erickson. Y'all remember Scott Erickson? Played for the Twins from 90 to 95. And of course, during that time span, he won the World Series in 91. He was on the rotation with the Twins versus the Braves in that famous 1991. It does not seem like that was 31 years ago. He was the AL wins leader that year as well and pitched a no-hitter in 1994. So happy birthday to Scott Erickson. That's just 142 wins in his career, 4.59 ERA. Decent pitcher. He had a hell of a 1991. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one. Sean O'Toole will be with us, and we hope to have Justin as well. Tonight's Tuesday night. My walk-off is Florida State 9 o'clock tip-off. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get a win. We'll see you.